There comes a time in life when everything seems to be falling apart, but in reality it's coming together. People around you no longer understand the choices you're making. Conversations that once made sense now feel hollow. That secure job starts to feel suffocating. And there's an inner restlessness that won't go away, no matter how hard you try to ignore it. If this is happening now, there is one truth that needs to be said. These are not signs of failure. These are signs that something much bigger is brewing. They are signs that the internal frequency is shifting, and when the frequency shifts, the external reality has no choice but to reorganize itself as well. In this video, we'll talk about the real signs, not the obvious ones. Not the ones that appear in shallow motivational phrases, but the deep, sometimes uncomfortable signs that prove someone is on the path to true wealth. And it's not just about money. It's about the internal transformation that makes manifesting prosperity not only possible, but inevitable. Because here's what most people don't understand. Wealth doesn't come to those who desire it. It comes to those who become capable of sustaining it. And this process of becoming leaves marks, signs, evidence that can be recognized by those who know where to look. If something inside is telling you that life needs to be bigger than it has been, pay attention. This sign is the first of many we'll explore now. There comes a time in life when something changes internally. It's not an external event, not a financial crisis or a loss. It's something more subtle, almost imperceptible to outsiders, but extremely powerful to those experiencing it. It's that growing discomfort with the routine, with empty conversations, with the feeling of just existing instead of really living. This discomfort is not a problem. It is actually the first sign that a profound transformation is beginning. The manifestation of wealth never begins with material abundance. It always begins with that inner awakening, with that sacred restlessness that makes you question whether this is truly what life has to offer. Most people spend their entire lives numb, following scripts they never even wrote. They wake up, work, complain, watch TV, sleep, and repeat. Not because they're lazy or incompetent, but because they've never questioned whether there's another way to live. When that question arises, when someone stops midday and thinks, there has to be something greater than this, the law of attraction is already at work. This thought isn't random. It's the universe's response to your changing vibrational field, which is beginning to resonate at a different frequency. It's as if your inner antenna is picking up signals from a completely new radio station. This sacred discomfort manifests itself in a variety of ways. It can be irritation when hearing constant complaints about money, work, or lack of opportunities. It can be the feeling of suffocation when in environments where no one talks about growth, possibilities, or expansion. It might be that strange feeling when you realize that the same conversations have been repeating themselves for years, and nothing has really evolved. This discomfort doesn't arise to torture, but to awaken. It's a signal that the current version of life is no longer aligned with who one is truly becoming. And when this happens, the universe begins to conspire in ways that are not yet visible to the eye. At this point, it's crucial to understand something that Napoleon Hill spent years researching. The subconscious mind doesn't differentiate between physical reality and imagined reality. When discomfort with mediocrity arises, the subconscious is already recognizing that there is a misalignment between the current identity and the future identity. The brain, this extraordinary quantum machine, begins to seek out patterns, opportunities, and synchronicities that previously went unnoticed. This is the beginning of the neural reprogramming that every millionaire, consciously or unconsciously, has undergone. Prosperity is not luck. It is frequency alignment. The question that changes everything is simple but has the power to break through decades of conditioning. Is this all I want for my life? When asked with brutal honesty, without social masks or comforting justifications, this question opens a door that never closes. And the interesting thing is that the answer doesn't always come in words. Sometimes it comes as a physical sensation, a tightness in the chest, a restlessness in the hands, an inexplicable urge to do something different. The body always knows before the conscious mind. It senses the vibrational dissonance between where it is and where the quantum field of possibilities is calling it to go. Many try to silence this discomfort by returning to their comfort zone. They buy things, distract themselves with empty entertainment, and seek validation in superficial relationships. But here's the inconvenient truth. Once this awakening happens, trying to ignore it is like trying not to think about a pink elephant. The more you resist it, the stronger it becomes. The wealth mindset doesn't come to those who are too comfortable. It's born in the space between the desire for something greater and the courage to abandon the familiar. And this space, although uncomfortable, is where all true manifestation begins. Wealth never comes to who we are today. It comes to who we become in the process of seeking it. This is a truth that deconstructs the whole fantasy of winning the lottery or receiving an unexpected inheritance. Not because these things can't happen, but because even if they do, the person who hasn't changed internally will lose them within a few years. Statistics show that 70% of lottery winners return to their previous financial situation in less than 5 years. Why? Because the money arrived, but the identity remained the same. And identity is the true magnet of manifestation. It determines not only what we attract, but most importantly, what we can sustain. Identity isn't what we say we are. It's not a statement we repeat in the mirror every morning. Identity is the set of deep beliefs that determine our automatic actions when no one is looking. It's how we react when we see an expensive bill, how we feel when we enter a luxury store, how we behave when we receive a great opportunity. A person with a scarcity identity can say, "I am abundant," 1,000 times. But when they need to invest in themselves, they hesitate. When they need to ask for fair value for their work, they devalue themselves. True identity lies in the small moments of decision, not in grand motivational speeches. So the essential question arises: how to change identity? The answer may seem counterintuitive, but it is absolutely practical. Act before you feel. Most people wait to feel rich to act rich. Expect to feel confident enough to make bold decisions. But neuroscience shows exactly the opposite. The brain changes through experience, not intention. Every time someone acts in alignment with their desired identity, even when feeling fear or doubt, the brain literally rebuilds its neural connections. It's like learning a new language. At first it feels forced, strange, artificial. But with consistent repetition, it becomes natural, automatic, part of who you are. Visualization and affirmations have their place, but they're only half the equation. Imagining yourself as a millionaire, while still acting like someone with a survivalist mindset, creates a cognitive dissonance that the universe itself can't resolve. It's like tuning into 2 radio stations at the same time. The result is just static. The key is to align thought and action. If the visualization shows a person who invests in knowledge, the action needs to be to buy that course, that book, that mentoring. If the mental image is of someone who manages money well, the action is to create that spreadsheet, open that investment account. Even with little, small aligned actions create more transformation than grand, disconnected fantasies. There is a powerful exercise that can begin to shift your identity immediately. Ask yourself, before each decision, what would the version of me that already has wealth do at this moment? Not the fantasy version that spends without thinking, but the version that has built sustainable prosperity. Would this person wake up at this time? Would you buy this item on impulse? Would you accept this low-paying job? Would you complain about this situation or look for a solution? These micro-decisions, repeated hundreds of times a day, reprogram your identity faster than any single meditation. Abundance becomes real when everyday choices reflect someone already living at this frequency. Identity transformation doesn't happen in a single moment of revelation. It's an ongoing, sometimes uncomfortable process, where the old version must die for the new to be born. And here's the secret few share. This death doesn't have to be dramatic. It can be silent, gradual, happening with each no said to old habits and each yes given to aligned behaviors. When someone sustains this practice long enough, something extraordinary happens. What was once an effort becomes an identity. Attracting wealth ceases to be a goal and becomes a natural consequence of who they have become. And at that point, manifestation is no longer a technique, but a state of being. Rich and poor live on the same planet, have the same 24 hours, but inhabit completely different realities. And the difference isn't in their bank balance, it's in how they view each passing minute. While most people waste time, those who prosper invest time. It seems subtle, but this mental distinction creates chasms in results. Wasting time means watching 3 hours of series without thinking, scrolling through endless social media feeds, complaining about situations that won't change. Investing time means consuming mind-expanding content, building strategic relationships, and developing skills that multiply value. The difference is in the intentionality. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Every wasted hour isn't just an hour wasted. It's an hour that could have planted a seed of wealth that would grow for the next 10 years. While someone spends 2 hours complaining about their boss, someone else uses those same 2 hours to build a side business. 5 years later, one is still complaining, the other is quitting. The wealth mindset doesn't mean working nonstop like a robot. It means understanding that strategic rest is an investment, but empty distraction is a drain. Watching a movie to renew your creativity, an investment. Watching 5 movies in a row because you don't want to think about life, escape. And there's something deeper going on here. How we use our time sends a clear signal to the universe about what we truly value. Saying you want prosperity but spending the entire day in conversations that lead nowhere creates a vibrational dissonance. The law of attraction doesn't respond to what we say we want. It responds to what our actions demonstrate as a priority. Think about it. A CEO and an employee might both be in a 2-hour meeting. Same room, same time. But internally, they're having opposite experiences. The employee is counting down the minutes until the meeting ends. The CEO is analyzing every piece of information, connecting the dots, identifying opportunities. One is killing time, the other is hunting for value. This shift in perception begins with a simple question at the end of each day. What have I built today that will still be generating value a year from now? If the answer is nothing, something needs to change. Because sustainable wealth doesn't come from isolated efforts. It comes from compounded actions over time. There is a practical exercise to start reprogramming this relationship with time. For a week, write down in a notebook exactly how each hour of the day was used. No judgment, just observation. At the end of the week, mark each hour with a color, green for investment, things that generate future value, yellow for maintenance, things that are necessary but do not grow, red for waste, things that only consume without return. The result is often shocking. Most find they're bleeding 40, 50, sometimes 60 hours a week in red. And the most interesting thing, they didn't even understand. Because those hours are wasted in unconscious micro-decisions. 15 minutes here on the phone, half an hour there in an unproductive conversation, 40 minutes procrastinating on simple tasks. But mindfulness isn't just about schedule management. It's about mental energy management. We may be physically present in a productive activity, but with our minds wandering with worries, regrets about the past, or anxieties about the future. This is an illusion of productivity. The body is there, but the vibrational frequency is dispersed in 1,000 directions. And when attention is fragmented, manifestation is also fragmented. Joe Dispenza says something revolutionary about this. Where we place our attention is where we place our energy. And where we place our energy is what we feed into reality. If our attention is constantly on problems, we feed problems. If it's on possibilities, we feed possibilities. It seems simple, but observe your own mind for 5 minutes. How often does it jump between random thoughts, old memories, future worries? This scattered mind can't manifest anything consistent. The daily practice that changes this game is training your mind to sustain focus. It doesn't have to be an hour-long meditation. You can start with 5 minutes in the morning, just observing your breath. When your mind wanders, gently bring it back. It sounds mechanical, but you're training the most important muscle for manifesting wealth. The ability to consciously direct energy. Because in the end, what separates those who manifest prosperity from those who only dream of it isn't luck, connections, or seed money. It's the ability to sustain focused attention on a vision long enough for it to materialize. And that starts with small daily victories. Consciously choosing where to spend the next 30 minutes. Intentionally deciding which thought to entertain for the next 5 minutes. These micro choices create macro results. And when someone masters the code of time, understanding that each minute is a unit of creation, not just a unit of passage, the entire frequency of life shifts. There's an invisible line that separates those who get rich from those who just make money. And that line has a name: long-term thinking. Making money is selling your time for a salary. Getting rich is building systems that generate value while you sleep. One is linear, the other is exponential. One stops when we stop, the other keeps growing. Most people live in the trap of immediate gratification. They want the car now, the trip now, the recognition now. And there's nothing wrong with desires. The problem is sacrificing the exponential future for linear pleasures of the present. It's like trading a tree that would bear fruit for decades for firewood that burns overnight. People with a wealth mindset think in decades, not weeks. When they invest 1,000 reais, they're not thinking about tomorrow's return. They're thinking about what that 1,000 reais will become in 10 years with compound interest. When they start a business, they don't expect profit in the first month. They expect to build something that in 5 years will be a prosperity engine. See the difference in practice. 2 people receive an inheritance of 50,000 reais. The first thinks, I can finally buy that car I've always wanted. The second thinks, how can I turn this into 500,000 in the next few years? Same amount, opposite mentalities, completely different destinies. 5 years later, the first one has a depreciated car, late payments, and complaining about the lack of opportunities. The second invested in education, set up a digital business, reinvested the profits, and now has passive income that supports her lifestyle without exchanging time for money. It's not a moral judgment. It's quantum physics applied to finance. Energy follows intention. Those with short-term intentions manifest short-term results. Those who cultivate long-term vision attract opportunities that others don't even see. Here's the secret no one wants to hear. Building real wealth is boring at first. It's not glamorous. You can't post on Instagram. It involves spreadsheets, studies, small monthly investments, discipline on days when no one is watching. While friends are at expensive parties, those building wealth are reading about real estate funds. While most are financing status, those thinking about legacy are buying assets. And there's something counterintuitive here. The more someone thinks long-term, the more peaceful the present becomes. Because financial anxiety comes from always living on the edge, always putting out fires, always depending on the next paycheck. When there are systems generating value in the background, there's room to breathe, to create, to take strategic risks. Wallace Wattles wrote something over 100 years ago that remains absolutely true today. There is no shortage of opportunity. There is a shortage of people prepared to seize opportunities when they arise. And preparation doesn't happen overnight. It happens over years of quiet construction. So how do you start thinking long-term when you barely have any money left at the end of the month? It starts with a change in perspective. It's not about how much you have now. It's about the trajectory that is being created. Someone who earns 2,000 Rs but invests 200 Rs monthly in knowledge and assets is on an upward trajectory. Someone who earns 10,000 Rs but spends 12,000 Rs is on a downward trajectory. 5 years later, the positions will be reversed. The practice is simple but requires discipline. Before buying anything over 100 Rs, ask yourself, is this an asset or a liability? Asset puts money in your pocket over time. Passive takes away. A course that teaches a profitable skill. Active dial bigger TV. Passive a book about investing. Active an expensive designer outfit just to impress. Passive. It doesn't mean living like a monk and never having pleasure. It means being strategic, choosing pleasures that don't jeopardize the future, setting aside a small percentage for conscious enjoyment and the rest for construction. Because true luxury isn't having expensive things now. It's having financial freedom 10 years from now. And here's the part that connects everything with manifestation. The universe doesn't send wealth to those who have nowhere to put it. If the entire mental and practical structure is focused on immediate consumption, even if money arrives, it slips through our fingers. But when systems are in place, open investment accounts, knowledge about capital multiplication, a builder's mindset rather than a spender's, abundance finds a container to sustain it. Real prosperity is not a sudden explosion. It's strategic accumulation. It's water dripping onto rock for years until it creates a deep valley. And once that valley is formed, wealth doesn't just arrive. It stays. Money is neutral. It's neither good nor bad. It's energy. And like all energy, it responds to the frequency of its attractor. The relationship someone has with money is a perfect mirror of the relationship they have with themselves. Those who feel unworthy charge cheap prices for their own work. Those who carry unconscious guilt sabotage their progress every time they begin to prosper. Those who fear loss hold on so tightly that they block the flow of more. Observe how people talk about money. Money doesn't grow on trees. Rich people only get rich by exploiting others. Having a lot of money changes people for the worse. Each of these phrases is a program that creates a repulsion field. It's impossible to attract what the subconscious has been trained to reject. There is a simple test to identify unconscious financial blocks. Imagine receiving an offer to earn 10 times more for the same work you already do. What's your first feeling? If it's natural joy and acceptance, great. But if discomfort, distrust, or thoughts like this is too good to be true or I don't deserve this come, there is the blockage. The financial ceiling isn't in the market. It's in your own identity. Most people treat money as their master. They live obsessed, desperate, and perpetually in scarcity mode. I need money becomes a mantra of desperation that ironically drives away abundance. Because despair vibrates with lack, not with fullness. And the law of attraction responds to the dominant vibration, not to spoken desire. Those who display true wealth treat money as a servant. Not in the sense of disrespect, but as leadership. Money is there to serve your purposes, your dreams, and your desired lifestyle. It doesn't own your life, it's a tool, and tools are controlled by those who use them. Not the other way around. This mental reversal changes everything. When money is the master, a person accepts any job, any amount, any degrading condition because they need to pay the bills. When money is a servant, a person defines its value and waits for the market to adjust, not with arrogance but with clarity about the value of the energy they're offering. And here's the uncomfortable truth. The market pays exactly what we believe we deserve. Not what we say we deserve, what we truly, deeply believe. A professional may have years of experience and charge peanuts because deep down they feel they're not good enough. Another may have less experience and charge triple because they don't question their own worth. The difference isn't in technical competence, it's in the vibrational frequency of self-esteem. So how do we change this relationship with money? How do we transform the master into a servant? It begins by acknowledging the uncomfortable truth. Money isn't the problem. The relationship with it is. Someone can have $1 million in the bank and live in panic about losing it all. Another can have 10,000 and sleep soundly knowing they have the capacity to create more. Real wealth is a state of mind before it's a number in the account. The next step is to observe patterns. Every time money comes in, what happens? If the automatic reaction is to spend it all quickly, there's a pattern of sabotage. The subconscious is programmed not to sustain abundance. If the reaction is to hoard, terrified of using, there's a pattern of scarcity. Neither allows for a healthy flow. A healthy flow is when money comes in. Some is set aside for future growth. Some is consciously used to improve the current quality of life, and there's room to also contribute, donate, and circulate. Because stagnant energy rots, circulating energy multiplies. There is a transformative practice that reprograms this relationship. Every time you pay a bill, instead of feeling the weight of the loss, be grateful for your ability to pay. Be thankful for the electricity that provides comfort. 4. The water that arrives clean at home. 4. The internet service that connects you to the world. This shift in perspective transforms every drainage payment into an investment in quality of life. Does it seem silly? It's pure quantum physics. The emotion associated with money creates the frequency that attracts or repels more of it. Paying bills with anger and resentment sends a signal of lack. Paying with gratitude sends a signal of abundance. And the universe, being a perfect mirror, returns more than we emanate. Another crucial layer. Stop seeing money as an exchange of time, and start seeing it as an exchange of value. Time is limited. Everyone has 24 hours, but value is unlimited. Someone can create something in an hour that changes the lives of thousands of people. That's worth far more than 1,000 hours of repetitive work that adds nothing meaningful. When the mindset shifts from how much time I spent to how much value I created, the relationship with money transforms. It's no longer about hours worked. It's about impact generated. And impact can be exponential. A video, a text, a digital product created once serves thousands. This is the mathematics of the new economy, and only those who understand value rather than effort can access it. In the end, money is just a reflection. It reflects inner clarity or confusion. It reflects self-worth or self-sabotage. It reflects a servant mentality or a creator mentality. And when someone finally looks in the mirror and recognizes that change doesn't begin with the bank balance, but with the internal relationship with one's own ability to create value, at that moment, prosperity stops being a hunt and becomes a natural harvest. No one manifests wealth in a straight line. There is no smooth path, without turbulence, without challenges that make you question everything. And this is not punishment from the universe. It is intentional design. Adversity is not the opposite of abundance. It is the process by which abundance becomes possible. Think of anyone we admire for their prosperity. No matter the field, business, arts, sports, entrepreneurship, they all have one thing in common: stories of failure, rejection, moments when all seemed lost. And it's no coincidence. It's because obstacles are the academy where the wealth mindset is forged. A comfort zone is an illusion of safety. It feels like protection, but in reality it's an invisible prison. As long as someone remains in it, the same situations repeat themselves, the same patterns perpetuate, and the same limited results continue to appear. The only way to break this cycle is through voluntary discomfort. But here's the problem. Most people run away from adversity as if it were an enemy. When a financial challenge arises, they panic. When a plan fails, they give up. When someone says no, they interpret it as a sign they're not on the right track. And so, they block exactly the process that would take them to the next level. Those with a wealth mindset do the opposite. They see every obstacle as information, every failure as a crash course, every closed door as a redirection to the right one. It's not blind optimism. It's strategic intelligence. It's understanding that the universe doesn't punish with challenges, it trains through them. There is a brutal difference between difficulty that teaches And difficulty that only exhausts. Difficulty that teaches is that which is connected to growth. Learning a new skill is difficult. Leaving your comfort zone to network. Investing money in education even when you're afraid. These are strategic challenges. They hurt in the moment, but they build capacity. The most exhausting difficulty is staying in toxic situations out of fear of change. Working on something that drains your soul with no exit plan. Maintaining relationships that drain your energy with no return. This isn't constructive adversity. It's self-sabotage disguised as resignation. Knowing the difference is essential. Because it's not about accepting any suffering as part of the process. It's about consciously choosing which battles are worth fighting. Which discomforts lead to expansion and which only perpetuate mediocrity. And here's something few people talk about. Adversity reveals who we're truly becoming. It's easy to have an abundance mindset when everything is flowing smoothly. The real test comes when the project fails, the money runs out, rejection hits. At that moment, our true identity emerges. Someone with a scarcity identity shrinks. They return to the familiar. They abandon their dream. They spend the next few years saying, "I tried and it didn't work." Someone with a prosperity identity asks, "What is this situation trying to teach me? How can I use this to my advantage?" Same adversity, opposite responses. Completely different destinies. Let's be practical. The next time an obstacle appears, and it will, ask yourself 3 questions. First, what skill do I need to develop to overcome this? Second, what limiting belief is being exposed here? Third, how would the version of me that already has wealth handle this situation? These questions turn a victim into a strategist. They take us out of reactive mode and put us into creative mode. Because the truth is this, we don't control what happens, we control how we interpret and respond. And this response determines whether the obstacle becomes a tombstone or a stepping stone. There's an interesting pattern in the accounts of people who have achieved significant prosperity. They all describe a specific rock-bottom moment, that point where everything fell apart, where there was nowhere to go but up. And it was exactly at this point that the real transformation began. Why? Because at rock bottom the masks fall, excuses no longer work, the illusion of control dissolves. And in the void that remains there's a stark choice: give up or be reborn. Those who choose to be reborn don't return as the same person. They return stronger, wiser, more aligned with the frequency of true manifestation. Now let's talk about habits. Because adversity teaches, but habits solidify. Wealth doesn't manifest itself in motivational bursts. It manifests itself in micro-actions repeated until they become automatic. Waking up at the same time every day. Reading 30 minutes before bed. Reviewing goals weekly. Investing a fixed percentage of your income each month. On their own, these actions seem insignificant. Compounded over years, they create exponential results. The challenge is that habits aren't sexy. They don't get likes on Instagram. They don't impress friends. They're invisible to the outside world. And that's why most people give up. They want the dramatic transformation, the cinematic before and after. But true wealth is built on boring spreadsheets, silent studies, disciplined decisions that no one sees. Here's a powerful experiment. Choose 3 micro-habits related to prosperity, not grandiose habits that are impossible to maintain. Micro-habits. Things that take less than 5 minutes but repeated daily. Reprogram your identity. Example. Every day when you wake up, first of all, visualize for 3 minutes your future self living your desired life. Not as an empty fantasy, but feeling the emotions, seeing the details, anchoring the frequency. 3 minutes. It doesn't seem like much. But multiplied by 365 days, that's over 1,000 minutes of focused neural reprogramming. The brain begins to search in external reality for what is being reinforced internally. Another example. Every night, write down 3 actions you took that day that align with your prosperity identity. It doesn't have to be grand. It could be I turned down an offer that didn't value my work, or I spent 15 minutes studying about investing. The simple act of recognizing these actions reinforces the pattern. The brain understands. This is the new norm. I am someone who acts like this now. The third can be whenever a scarcity thought arises, I don't have the money. It won't work. I can't do it. Immediately reframe it to abundance. I don't have that money yet, but I'm building the conditions to have it. That path didn't work, but now I have the information to try the next one. I am becoming more and more capable. Sounds simple? It is. And because it's simple, most people don't do it. Expect complex techniques, elaborate rituals, and secret formulas. But the magic lies precisely in simplicity executed consistently. Because consistency is what transforms intention into identity, and identity is what transforms manifestation into tangible reality. Obstacles and habits are two sides of the same coin. Obstacles reveal where we need to grow. Habits cement growth. And when these two elements work together, when adversity is seen as training and habits are practiced as sacred discipline, the wealth mindset ceases to be something sought and becomes something we are. We are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. This phrase has become a cliche, but its depth is rarely understood. It's not just about behaviors or habits that are copied. It's about vibrational frequency. Each person emits an energetic frequency based on their dominant thoughts, beliefs, and emotions. And when we spend time with someone, our frequencies begin to synchronize. It's basic quantum physics. Waves in close proximity tend to resonate. Spending hours a day with people who complain about their lack of money, who talk about the crisis as if it were eternal, who see opportunities as threats. This isn't just discouraging. It's literally vibrational pollution. The frequency of scarcity begins to contaminate the energy field, and without realizing it, thoughts of limitation begin to seem natural, normal, and true. The opposite is also true. Surrounding yourself with people who talk about growth, who share opportunities, who revel in possibilities, that's not superficial motivation. It's the contagion of abundance. The subconscious mind absorbs these patterns and begins to reprogram internal reality. What once seemed impossible begins to seem inevitable. But here's the hard part that no one wants to face. Changing your social circle is necessary to change your life, and it hurts because often the people who need to be left behind are the ones who have always been there. Family who doesn't understand. Childhood friends who mock ambitions. Colleagues who feel threatened by others' growth. It's not about abandoning out of spite. It's about recognizing that evolution sometimes requires distancing ourselves from what keeps us stuck in the past. There are people who will say, "You've changed." And they'll say it as if it were an accusation. As if remaining stagnant were a virtue. The right answer isn't to defend yourself. It's to acknowledge, well, yes, I've changed. And I'll keep changing, because those who don't change die, maybe not physically, but energetically. You become a frozen version of yourself, repeating the same patterns until your last day. Now, this doesn't mean coldly cutting off all old connections. It means being selective with your energy. You can love someone from a distance. You can maintain respect without maintaining daily proximity. The issue isn't a moral judgment about who is better or worse. It is a vibrational strategy about what serves or does not serve the future that is being manifested. So, how do you identify who should be part of the prosperity journey? First observation: how does a person react when something good happens? If the first reaction is genuine enthusiasm, that person vibrates in abundance. If the first reaction is envy disguised as worry, be careful not to get hurt. Will it last? That person vibrates in scarcity. It's not about being bad, it's about an incompatible frequency. Second observation: does the conversation expand or contract? People with a wealth mindset talk about ideas, possibilities, projects, and growth. People with a limitation mindset talk about other people, unsolvable problems, and circular complaints. They don't need to say it explicitly. The energy of the conversation reveals everything. Third observation, is there reciprocity? Prosperous relationships are always about giving and taking. It doesn't have to be symmetrical at every moment, but over time there is balance. If a relationship is constantly draining, someone always asking, complaining, sucking energy without ever offering anything in return, that's not friendship. It's emotional vampirism, and there's something crucial here. It's not just about being around financially wealthy people. It's about being around people who are rich in mindset. Someone can have millions and vibrate in constant fear of losing it all. Another may be building from scratch and vibrating with unshakable confidence in their own potential. The second is far more valuable to be around than the first. Proximity is power. But proximity to whom? With those who are already where we want to be. With those who think bigger than we think. With those who don't accept mediocrity as the norm. With those who challenge, question, and push us beyond our comfort zone. These people are rare. And when they appear, it's crucial to recognize and cultivate them. There's an interesting phenomenon that happens when someone starts raising their frequency. Their social circle naturally reorganizes. Some people simply disappear. There's no fighting, no confrontation. They simply stop making sense. And simultaneously, new people begin to appear. Opportunities arise. Unexpected invitations arrive. Meaningful connections are formed. This isn't luck. It's the law of attraction operating at the level of relationships. The frequency has changed, so the resonance has changed with it. The universe doesn't keep people in incompatible vibrational fields for long. Either one rises to meet the other, or they fall, or they naturally drift apart. And here's the liberating truth. It's no one's responsibility to lift others up. Each person has their own journey, their own timing, their own awakening. Trying to force someone to grow before they're ready is a waste of energy. And worse, it can generate resentment on both sides. The role of those on a transformation journey is simply to be a living example. To live the change so authentically that it inspires without needing to convince. Those who are ready will naturally approach. Those who aren't will naturally move away. And both movements are perfect. Ultimately, prosperity isn't a solitary journey, but it's also not a collective one with just anyone. It's built in the company of those who resonate at the same frequency of expansion. And when these right connections are formed, manifestation ceases to be an individual effort and becomes a collective magnetic field. One pulls the other up. One amplifies the frequency of the other. And together, they create realities that they would never access alone. The wealth that matters isn't just in the bank account. It's in the quality of the people around you, the depth of the conversations shared, the energy that's exchanged daily. And when someone finally understands this, that the greatest asset isn't money, but aligned connections, their entire life shifts. Because true wealth is always co-created, never isolated. If discomfort with ordinary life is growing, if time has begun to be seen as an investment, if identity is shifting and money has become a servant rather than a master, these are the signs. The frequency is changing. Prosperity is being magnetized. Now, leave a statement in the comments about your commitment to this transformation. Comment, "I choose prosperity every day," or "My frequency is aligned with abundance." Write down what you are feeling at this moment. This energetically seals what was absorbed here. If this video made sense to you, leave a like and subscribe to the channel to continue this journey of expansion. The next level is activating the power that consolidates all of this. And there's a specific tool that does just that. So, watch the next video that will be on screen. It will explain how to use the power of I am in your manifestation statements. Now the manifestation goes to an even deeper state. I'll meet you there.